Okay guys, welcome back. So I'm just going to hit my watch here actually, so I can time myself. So welcome back. So where I left off was, we were on about Dr. William Donald Kelly's wife. I think she was his third wife, maybe, could be second wife, but she was bedridden anyway. So we were on the red meat part. So the only thing he came to his own conclusion, essentially what he thought was, he's like, listen, and apparently, like, this is the way Dr. William Gonzalez would tell it. He would say, this is what separates the genius from the rest of us. He had the courage to say, it's not me, or it's not, it's essentially he said, I'm failing her. My system, my protocol is wrong. It's not her. I'm wrong. Something I'm doing is wrong. So essentially he was like, I've been trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and the problem is with me, not with my wife. Okay, so something I'm doing is wrong. So he said, the only thing I've not tried with her from a nutritional standpoint is red meat. So he rings up her mother, because at this time she was living with her mother, because he had to run his clinic with all his patients. So she was staying with her mother. She was, fairly weak energy wise. Apparently bedridden, like she couldn't really get out of bed too often. She was that ill. And Dr. William Don Kelly rang his mother-in-law at that time and said, listen, go down to the local farmer, get some quality red meat, grass-fed meat, and feed it to her raw. And the mother took apparently a lot of convincing, because that would be like me turning around to most people and say, just eat loads of bread and gluten, you're grand. Or, don't go, doesn't matter what time you go to bed at now, don't worry about your circadian rhythms, or just drink loads of alcohol every day, you're grand. To her it was really like, oh my god, this is the exact opposite to what you've been saying. You're Dr. William Don Kelly, you're the cancer doctor, you're the anti-red meat guy, now you're telling me to go down and get meat and feed it to my daughter. And he's like, I know, but listen, it's our last option. If this doesn't work, we'll bring it to the hospital, we'll bring it to see a doctor. So lo and behold, she goes down to the farmer, gets the red meat, and then he feeds it to the daughter, or she feeds it to her daughter, feeds it to her raw as well, and within a day, 2 days, she's perfect. Well, not perfect obviously, but she's out of bed, she's energy, she feels the best she's felt in a long time. And Dr. William Don Kelly didn't know what the hell was going on. He was just like, keep doing what you're doing, I don't know what's going on, but just keep doing what you're doing now. Dr. Kelly was one of these people that he had to know why this was working. So if we go back to the work of Francis Pottinger, remember Pottinger studied the autonomic nervous system, and now we're getting into metabolic typing here. Different nutrients can stimulate different branches of the autonomic nervous system, okay? So what Dr. William Donald Kelly, from the work of Pottinger, what he sort of pioneered, or what he innovated, was metabolic typing, okay? And essentially he came up with three metabolic types. You were a sympathetic type, a parasympathetic type, or you were a balanced type. And within each of those categories, he had subcategories. So so the sympathetic types were essentially your more vegetarian types. So he had 3 vegetarian types. Your parasympathetics were your carnivore types. He had 3 carnivore type diets, and then he had 4 balanced type diets. So essentially, he had 10 different protocols: 3 vegetarian types, which were your sympathetic types; 3 carnivores, which were your parasympathetics; and then 4 balanced types, which were your sort of balanced dominance with regards to the autonomic nervous system. Okay. He also then realized that another thing he actually noticed with his wife at the time was she did not respond to the supplements that he would respond to. She responded to the exact opposite supplements that made Dr. William Don Kelly not feel well. Dr. William Don Kelly was actually a sympathetic guy. He was more of a vegetarian type guy. His wife, on the other hand, or his second or third wife, or the girl I was just talking about, or the woman I was just talking about, apparently she was more of a carnivore. She thrived on red meat, and so then therefore she tried on the complete opposite supplements that he would thrive on. He was a sympathetic type, she was a parasympathetic type. So eventually he came up with these metabolic types, individualized supplement protocols, and that was kind of the beginnings of metabolic typing. So, and again, I have a presentation on this on one of my YouTube channels that I can link along with this video. So eventually what you'll often hear people talk about, you need to be more alkaline, you need to be more alkaline. What Dr. Kelly would say is that sympathetic people need to be more alkaline, because if you're a sympathetic type, you generally are more acidic with your pH. Whereas if you're parasympathetic, you're more alkaline type. You need more acidifying foods. Therefore, that's why parasympathetics are more carnivores. They do more well on foods like meat and just more acidic type foods. Whereas the sympathetic types are more your vegetarian, vegan type people almost, who seems to do better with more alkaline foods. So that was the beginning of metabolic typing. And again, so there were vegetarian types for the sympathetic dominant. And then the certain nutritional supplements that went well with the sympathetic dominant metabolizers were things like vitamin D, vitamin K, ascorbic acid, biotin, folic acid, B1, 2, and 6, niacin, potassium, magnesium, manganese, zinc, chromium, hydrochloric acid, and pancreatic enzymes and amino acids. Then you had your group Bs. If this battery goes dead, it might go dead, I'll just edit. Carnivores, parasympathetic types, they had 3 types as well. The supplements that went well for the parasympathetic dominant metabolizers were vitamin E, B12, niacinamide, pantothenic acid, chlorine, inestrol, calcium phosphorus, calcium ascorbate, bioflavonoid complex, zinc, and you have ribonucleic acid. So you can see very different, very almost on the opposite end. Then there was the balanced metabolizers, and the balanced metabolizers could have a mixture of the supplements. And then, in regards to their actual nutrition protocols, they had the best of both worlds from the carnivores and the vegetarians. They had a very, very sort of nutritional lifestyle. Now, the next thing I just want to touch on here is that so that's the story of metabolic typing from Dr. William Donald Kelly, and essentially Dr. William Donald Kelly was the father of metabolic typing. And there is another metabolic typist. There's a few of them out there, but so the most popular would have been his, and the most popular now is Bill Walcott's. And I don't want to be speaking here for Bill, so if I say anything and it gets back to Bill and Bill says it's actually this way, listen to Bill, okay? I'm just giving you stuff that I know again. And I'm not saying that metabolic typing again is the be all and end all, just like FMS. This is just more like putting information out there just for interest's sake, you know? Good stuff to know. Like, again, with metabolic typing, I do, without question, the premise of metabolic typing, I believe, is 100% correct in that everyone is biochemically unique. That's undeniable. We are all different. That's undeniable. So we're all nutritionally unique. But what is hard with metabolic typing, it's just so hard to determine someone's metabolic type. It's still very subjective, but there's a lot of good stuff there. So metabolic typing, the Bill Walcott side. So essentially, Bill Walcott actually worked with Dr. William Donald Kelly, but they kind of had a falling out from what I understand, because Walcott's story is essentially he worked for Dr. Kelly, and while some people still got better, others were not getting better. And I'm also coming up on time here, so I can also change the batteries. But I'll go for another minute. So Walcott was like, they're still not getting 100% better. Why is this? So he kind of, went back and read a few things, and apparently he found a book called Nutrition and Your Mind by George Washington. Apparently he found it in Dr. William Donald Kelly's library. Apparently, I don't know. And essentially, while Dr. Kelly was adamant that the autonomic nervous system was the master regulating system of the entire body, George Watson was more of a psychiatrist who used to use oxidative rate to determine someone's nutritional requirements, and he termed people as fast oxidizers, slow oxidizers, and mixed oxidizers, very similar to the autonomic nervous system categories that Dr. Kelly had in that sympathetic parasympathetic balance. These were fast, slow, balanced type of oxidizers. But the one key difference was that the psychological traits that Dr. Kelly had for sympathetics, balance, and parasympathetics were the exact opposite then for the fast, mixed, and slow oxidizers that Watson had. So there was a bit of a conflict here for Bill Walcott then. He was like, I work with Kelly, I trust him, he's a genius, but this George Watson guy has a lot of good data here, and I'm not too sure who I should believe here, So he kind of mulled on it for a while, and I'll finish this story now in the next video.